Put the trumpet to your lips. Something like an eagle is over Yahweh's house, because they have broken my covenant and rebelled against my law. They cry to me, "My God, we, Israel, acknowledge you." Israel has cast off that which is good. The enemy will pursue him. They have set up kings, but not by me. They have made princes, and I didn't approve. Of their silver and their gold, they have made themselves idols, that they may be cut off. Let Samaria throw out his calf idol. My anger burns against them. How long will it be until they are capable of purity? For this is even from Israel. The workman made it, and it is no God. Indeed, the calf of Samaria shall be broken in pieces. For they sow the wind, and they will reap the whirlwind. He has no standing grain. The stalk will yield no head. If it does yield, strangers will swallow it up. Israel is swallowed up. Now they are among the nations like a worthless thing. For they have gone up to Assyria, like a wild donkey wandering alone. Ephraim has hired lovers for himself. But although they sold themselves among the nations, I will now gather them, and they begin to waste away because of the oppression of the kings of mighty ones. Because Ephraim has multiplied altars for sinning, they became for him altars for sinning. I wrote for him the many things of my law, but they were regarded as strange thing. And as for the sacrifices of my offering, they sacrifice meat and eat it, but Yahweh doesn't accept them. Now he will remember their iniquity and punish their sins. They will return to Egypt, for Israel has forgotten his Maker and built palaces, and Judah has multiplied fortified cities. But I will send a fire on his cities, and it will devour its fortresses. Don't rejoice, Israel, to jubilation like the nations, for you were unfaithful to your God. You love the wages of a prostitute at every grain threshing floor. The threshing floor and the winepress won't feed them, and the new wine will fail her. They won't dwell in Yahweh's land, but Ephraim will return to Egypt, and they will put unclean food in Assyria. They won't pour out wine offerings to Yahweh, neither will they be pleasing to him. Their sacrifices will be to them like the bread of mourners. All who eat of it will be polluted, for their bread will be for their appetite. It will not come into Yahweh's house. What will you do in the day of solemn assembly, and in the day of the feast of Yahweh? For behold, when they flee destruction, Egypt will gather them up. Memphis will bury them. Nettles will possess their pleasant things of silver. Thorns will be in their tents. The days of visitation have come. The days of reckoning have come. Israel will consider the prophet to be a fool, and the man who is inspired to be insane, because of the abundance of your sins, and because your hostility is great. A prophet watches over Ephraim with my God. A fowler's snare is on all of his paths, and hostility in the house of his God. They have deeply corrupted themselves, as in the days of Gibeah. He will remember their iniquity. He will punish them for their sins. I found Israel like grapes in the wilderness. I saw your fathers as the first ripe in the fig tree at its first season. But they came to Baal Peor and consecrated themselves to the shameful thing, and became abominable like that which they loved. As for Ephraim, their glory will fly. Though they bring up their children, yet I will bereave them, so that not a man shall be left. Indeed, woe also to them when I depart from them. I have seen Ephraim like Tyre, planted in a pleasant place, but Ephraim will bring out his children to the murderer. Give them, Yahweh, what will you give? Give them a miscarrying womb and dry breasts. All their wilderness is in Gilgal, for there I hated them. Because of the wickedness of their deeds, I will drive them out of my house. I will love them no more. All their princes are rebels. Ephraim is struck. Their root has dried up. They will bear no fruit, even though they gave birth. Yet I will kill the beloved ones of their womb. May God cast them away, because they didn't listen to him, and they will be wanderers among the nations. Israel is a luxuriant vine that produces his fruit. According to the abundance of his fruit, he has multiplied his altars. As their land has prospered, they have adorned their sacred stones. Their heart is divided. Now they will be found guilty. He will demolish their altars. He will destroy their sacred stones. Surely now they will say, "We have no king, for we don't fear Yahweh. And the king, what can he do for us?" They make promises, swearing falsely and making covenants. Therefore judgment springs up like poisonous weeds in the furrows of the field. The inhabitants of Samaria will be in terror for the calves of Beth Avon, for its people will mourn over it, along with its priests who rejoiced over it, for its glory, because it has departed from it. It also will be carried to Assyria for a present to the great king. Ephraim will receive shame, and Israel will be ashamed of his own counsel. Samaria and her king float away, like a twig on the water. The high places also of Avon, the sin of Israel, will be destroyed. The thorn and the thistle will come up on their altars. They will tell the mountains, "Cover us," and the hills, "Fall on us." Israel, you have sinned from the days of Gibeah. There they remained. The battle against the children of iniquity doesn't overtake them in Gibeah. When it is my desire, I will chastise them, and the nations will be gathered against them, when they are bound to their two transgressions. Ephraim is a trained heifer that loves to thrash, so I will put a yoke on her beautiful neck. I will set a rider on Ephraim. Judah will plough, Jacob will break his clods. Sow to yourselves in righteousness, reap according to kindness. Break up your fallow ground, for it is time to seek Yahweh, until he comes and rains righteousness on you. You have ploughed wickedness, you have reaped iniquity, you have eaten the fruit of lies, for you trusted in your way, in the multitude of your mighty men. Therefore, a battle roar will arise among your people, and all your fortresses will be destroyed. As Shalman destroyed Beth Arbel in the day of battle, the mother was dashed in pieces with her children. So Bethel will do to you, because of your great wickedness. At daybreak the king of Israel will be destroyed. When Israel was a child, then I loved him, and called my son out of Egypt. They called to them, so they went from them. They sacrificed to the Baals, and burned incense to engraved images. Yet I taught Ephraim to walk. I took them by their arms, but they didn't know that I healed them. I drew them with cords of a man, with ties of love. And I was to them like those who lift up the yoke on their necks, and I bent down to him and I fed him. They won't return into the land of Egypt, but the Assyrian will be their king, because they refused to repent. The sword will fall on their cities, and will destroy the bars of their gates, and will put an end to their plans. My people are determined to turn from me. Though they call to the Most High, he certainly won't exalt them. How can I give you up, Ephraim? How can I hand you over, Israel? How can I make you like Admah? How can I make you like Zeboim? My heart is turned within me. My compassion is aroused. I will not execute the fierceness of my anger. I will not return to destroy Ephraim. For I am God and not man, the Holy One among you. I will not come in wrath. They will walk after Yahweh, who will roar like a lion. For he will roar, and the children will come trembling from the west. They will come trembling like a bird out of Egypt, and like a dove out of the land of Assyria. And I will settle them in their houses, says Yahweh. Ephraim surrounds me with falsehood, and the house of Israel with deceit. Judah still strays from God, and is unfaithful to the Holy One. Ephraim feeds on the wind, and chases the east wind. He continually multiplies lies and desolation. They make a covenant with Assyria, and oil is carried into Egypt. Yahweh also has a controversy with Judah, and will punish Jacob according to his ways. According to his deeds he will repay him. In the womb he took his brother by the heel, and in his manhood he contended with God. Indeed, he struggled with the angel and prevailed. He wept and made supplication to him. He found him at Bethel, and there he spoke with us, even Yahweh the God of armies. Yahweh is his name of renown. Therefore turn to your God. Keep justice and kindness, and wait continually for your God. A merchant has dishonest scales in his hand. He loves to defraud. They won't find me in any iniquity that is sin. But I am Yahweh your God from the land of Egypt. I will yet again make you dwell in tents, as in the days of the solemn feast. I have also spoken to the prophets, and I have multiplied visions, and by the ministry of the prophets I have used parables. If Gilead is wicked, surely they are worthless. In Gilgal they sacrifice bulls. Indeed, their altars are like heaps in the furrows of the field. Jacob fled into the country of Aram. Israel served to get a wife. For a wife he tended flocks and herds. By a prophet Yahweh brought Israel out of Egypt, and by a prophet he was preserved. Ephraim has bitterly provoked anger. Therefore his blood will be left on him, and his Lord will repay his contempt. When Ephraim spoke, there was trembling. He exalted himself in Israel, but when he became guilty through Baal, he died. Now they sin more and more, and have made themselves molten images of their silver, even idols according to their own understanding. All of them, the work of the craftsman. They say of them, they offer human sacrifice and kiss the calves. Therefore they are like the morning mist, like the dew that passes away early, like the chaff that is driven with the whirlwind out of the threshing floor, and like the smoke out of the chimney. Yet I am Yahweh your God. From the land of Egypt, you shall acknowledge no God before me. And beside me there is no Saviour. I knew you in the wilderness, in the land of great drought. According to their pasture, so they were filled. They were filled, and their heart was exalted. Therefore they have forgotten me. Therefore I am like a lion to them. Like a leopard, I will lurk by the path. I will meet them like a bear that is bereaved of her cubs, and will tear the covering of their hearts. There I will devour them like a lioness. The wild animal will tear them. You are destroyed, Israel, because you are against me, against your helper. Where is your king now, that he may save you in all your cities? And your judges, of whom you said, give me a king and princes. I have given you a king in my anger, and have taken him away in my wrath. The guilt of Ephraim is stored up. His sin is stored up. The sorrows of a travailing woman will come on him. He is an unwise son, for when it is time, he doesn't come to the opening of the womb. I will ransom them from the power of Sheol. I will redeem them from death. Death, where are your plagues? Sheol, where is your destruction? Compassion will be hidden from my eyes. Though he is fruitful among his brothers, an east wind will come. The breath of Yahweh coming up from the wilderness, and his spring will become dry, and his fountain will be dried up. He will plunder the storehouses of treasure. Samaria will bear her guilt, for she has rebelled against her God. They will fall by the sword. Their infants will be dashed to pieces, and their pregnant women will be ripped open. Israel, return to Yahweh your God, for you have fallen because of your sin. Take words with you and return to Yahweh. Tell him, forgive all our sins and accept that which is good. So we offer bulls as we vowed of our lips. Assyria can't save us. We won't ride on horses, neither will we say any more of the work of our hands. Our gods, for in you the fatherless finds mercy. I will heal their waywardness. I will love them freely. For my anger is turned away from them. I will be like the dew to Israel. He will blossom like the lily, and send down his roots like Lebanon. His branches will spread, and his beauty will be like the olive tree, and his fragrance like Lebanon. Men will dwell in his shade. They will revive like the grain, and blossom like the vine. Their fragrance will be like the wine of Lebanon. Ephraim, what have I to do any more with idols? I answer, and I will take care of him. I am like a green cypress tree. From me your fruit is found. Who is wise that he may understand these things? Who is prudent that he may know them? For the ways of Yahweh are right, and the righteous walk in them, but the rebellious stumble in them. Woe to the crown of pride of the drunkards of Ephraim, and to the fading flower of his glorious beauty, which is on the head of the fertile valley of those who are overcome with wine. Behold, the Lord has one who is mighty and strong, like a storm of hail, a destroying storm, and like a storm of mighty waters overflowing. He will cast them down to the earth with his hand. The crown of pride of the drunkards of Ephraim will be trodden underfoot. The fading flower of his glorious beauty, which is on the head of the fertile valley, shall be like the first ripe fig before the summer, which someone picks and eats as soon as he sees it. In that day, Yahweh of armies will become a crown of glory and a diadem of beauty to the residue of his people, and a spirit of justice to him who sits in judgment, and strength to him who turns back the battle at the gate. They also reel with wine and stagger with strong drink. The priest and the prophet reel with strong drink. They are swallowed up by wine. They stagger with strong drink. They err in vision. They stumble in judgment. For all tables are completely full of filthy vomit and filthiness. Whom will he teach knowledge? To whom will he explain the message? Those who are weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast? For it is precept on precept, precept on precept, line on line, line on line, here a little, there a little. But he will speak to this nation with stammering lips, and in another language, to whom he said, This is the resting place, give rest to the weary, and this is the refreshing, yet they would not hear. Therefore Yahweh's word will be to them precept on precept, precept on precept, line on line, here a little, there a little. They may go, fall backward, be broken, be snared, and be taken. Therefore hear Yahweh's word, you scoffers, that rule this people in Jerusalem. Because you have said, we have made a covenant with death, and we are in agreement with Sheol, when the overflowing scourge passes through, it won't come to us, for we have made lies our refuge, and we have hidden ourselves under falsehood. Therefore the Lord Yahweh says, Behold, I lay in Zion, for a foundation, a stone, a tried stone, a precious cornerstone of a sure foundation. He who believes shall not act hastily. I will make justice the measuring line, and righteousness the plumb line. The hail will sweep away the refuge of lies, and the waters will overflow the hiding place. Your covenant with death shall be annulled, and your agreement with Sheol shall not stand. When the overflowing scourge passes through, then you will be trampled down by it. As often as it passes through, it will seize you. For morning by morning it will pass through, by day and by night, and it will be nothing but terror to understand the message. For the bed is too short to stretch out on, and the blanket is too narrow to wrap oneself in. For Yahweh will rise up, as on Mount Perazim. He will be angry as in the valley of Gibeon, that he may do his work, his unusual work, and bring to pass his act, his extraordinary act. Now therefore, don't be scoffers, lest your bond be made strong. For I have heard a decree of destruction from the Lord, Yahweh of armies, on the whole earth. Give ear, and hear my voice. Listen, and hear my speech. Does he who ploughs to sow plough continually? Does he keep turning the soil and breaking the clods? When he has levelled its surface, doesn't he plant the dill and scatter the cumin seed, and put in the wheat in rows, the barley in the appointed place, and the spelt in its place? For his God instructs him in right judgment and teaches him. For the dill isn't thrashed with a sharp instrument, neither is a cartwheel turned over the cumin, but the dill is beaten out with a stick, and the cumin with a rod. Bread flour must be ground, so that he will not always be threshing it. Although he drives the wheels of his threshing cart over it, his horses don't grind it. This also comes out from Yahweh of armies, who is wonderful in counsel and excellent in wisdom. Woe to Ariel, Ariel, the city where David encamped. Add year to year. Let the feasts come around. Then I will distress Ariel, and there will be mourning and lamentation. She shall be to me as an altar hearth. I will encamp around you, all around, and will lay siege against you with posted troops. I will raise siege works against you. You will be brought down, and will speak out of the ground. Your speech will mumble out of the dust. Your voice will be as of one who has a familiar spirit out of the ground, and your speech will whisper out of the dust. But the multitude of your foes will be like fine dust, and the multitude of the ruthless ones like chaff that blows away. Yes, it will be in an instant, suddenly. She will be visited by Yahweh of armies with thunder, with earthquake, with great noise, with whirlwind and storm, and with the flame of a devouring fire. The multitude of all the nations that fight against Ariel, even all who fight against her in her stronghold, and who distress her, will be like a dream, a vision of the night. It will be like when a hungry man dreams, and behold, he eats, but he awakes and his hunger isn't satisfied. Or like when a thirsty man dreams, and behold, he drinks, but he awakes and behold, he is faint, and he is still thirsty. The multitude of all the nations that fight against Mount Zion will be like that. Pause and wonder. Blind yourselves and be blind. They are drunken, but not with wine. They stagger, but not with strong drink. For Yahweh has poured out on you a spirit of deep sleep, and has closed your eyes. The prophets, and he has covered your heads, the seers. All visions have become to you like the words of a book that is sealed, which men deliver to one who is educated, saying, "Read this, please." And he says, "I can't, for it is sealed." And the book is delivered to one who is not educated, saying, "Read this, please." And he says, "I can't read." The Lord says, "Because this people draws near me with their mouth and honors me with their lips, but they have removed their hearts far from me, and their fear of me is a commandment of men which has been taught. Therefore, behold, I will proceed to do a marvelous work among this people, even a marvelous work and a wonder, and the wisdom of their wise men will perish, and the understanding of their prudent men will be hidden. Woe to those who deeply hide their counsel from Yahweh, and whose deeds are in the dark, who say, 'Who sees us?' and 'Who knows us?' You turn things upside down. Should the potter be thought to be like the clay? And the thing made should say about him who made it, 'He didn't make me.' Or the thing formed say of him who formed it, 'He has no understanding.' Isn't it yet a very little while, and Lebanon be turned into a fruitful field, and the fruitful field will be regarded as a forest? In that day the deaf will hear the words of the book, and the eyes of the blind will see out of the obscurity and out of darkness. The humble also will increase their joy in Yahweh, and the poor among men will rejoice in the Holy One of Israel. For the ruthless is brought to nothing, and the scoffer ceases, and all who are alert to do evil are cut off. Who cause a person to be indicted by a word, and lay a snare for one who reproves in the gate, and who deprive the innocent of justice with false testimony? Therefore Yahweh, who redeemed Abraham, says concerning the house of Jacob, Jacob shall no longer be ashamed, neither shall his face grow pale. But when he sees his children, the work of my hands, in the middle of him, they will sanctify my name. Yes, they will sanctify the Holy One of Jacob, and will stand in awe of the God of Israel. They also who err in spirit will come to understanding, and those who grumble will receive instruction. Woe to the rebellious children, says Yahweh, who take counsel, but not from me, and who make an alliance, but not with my spirit, that they may add sin to sin, who set out to go down into Egypt without asking for advice, to strengthen themselves in the strength of Pharaoh, to take refuge in the shadow of Egypt. Therefore the strength of Pharaoh will be your shame, and the refuge in the shadows of Egypt your confusion. For their princes are at Zoan, and their ambassadors have come to Hanes. They shall all be ashamed because of a people that can't profit them, that are not a help nor profit, but a shame and also a reproach. The burden of the animals of the south. Through the land of trouble and anguish, of the lioness and the lion, the viper and the fiery flying serpent, they carry their riches on the shoulders of young donkeys, and their treasures on the humps of camels, to an unprofitable people. For Egypt helps in vain and to no purpose. Therefore I have called her Rahab, who sits still. Now go, write it before them on a tablet, and inscribe it in a book, that it may be for the time to come forever and ever. For it is a rebellious people, and the prophets don't prophesy to us the right things, tell us pleasant things, prophesy deceits. Get out of the way, turn away from the path, cause the Holy One of Israel to cease before them. Therefore the Holy One of Israel says, because you despised this word, and trust in oppression, and perverseness, and rely on it, therefore this iniquity shall be to you like a breach ready for fall, swelling out in a high wall, whose breaking comes suddenly in an instant. He will break it as a potter's vessel is broken, breaking it in pieces without sparing, so that there won't be found among the broken pieces a piece good enough to take fire from the hearth, or to dip up water out of a cistern. For thus says the Lord Yahweh, the Holy One of Israel, you will be saved in returning and rest. Your strength will be in quietness and in confidence. You refused, but you said, no, for we will flee on horses. Therefore you will flee, and we will ride on the swift. Therefore those who pursue you will be swift. 1,000 will flee at the threat of one. At the threat of 5 you will flee until you are left like a beacon on top of a mountain, and like a banner on a hill. Therefore Yahweh will wait, that he may be gracious to you, and therefore he will be exalted, that he may have mercy on you. For Yahweh is a God of justice. Blessed are all those who wait for him, for the people will dwell in Zion at Jerusalem. You will weep no more. He will surely be gracious to you at the voice of your cry. When he hears you, he will answer you. Though the Lord may give you the bread of adversity and the water of affliction, yet your teachers won't be hidden any more. But your eyes will see your teachers, And when you turn to the right hand, and when you turn to the left, your ears will hear a voice behind you saying, "This is the way, walk in it." You shall defile the overlaying of your engraved images of silver, and the plating of your molten images of gold. You shall cast them away as an unclean thing. You shall tell it, "Go away." He will give you the rain for your seed, with which you will sow the ground, and bread of the increase of the ground will be rich and plentiful. In that day your livestock will feed in large pastures. The oxen likewise and the young donkeys that till the ground will eat savoury feed, which has been winnowed with the shovel and with the fork. There will be brooks and streams of water on every lofty mountain, and on every high hill in the day of the great slaughter, when the towers fall. Moreover, the light of the moon will be like the light of the sun, and the light of the sun will be 7 times brighter, like the light of 7 days. In that day that Yahweh binds up the fracture of his people, and heals the wound that they were struck with. Behold, Yahweh's name comes from afar, burning with his anger, and in thick rising smoke. His lips are full of indignation. His tongue is a devouring fire. His breath is as an overflowing stream that reaches even to the neck, to sift the nations with the sieve of destruction. A bridle that leads to ruin will be in the jaws of the people. You will have a song as in the night, when a holy feast is kept, and gladness of heart, as when one goes with a flute to come to Yahweh's mountain, to Israel's rock. Yahweh will cause his glorious voice to be heard, and will show the descent of his arm with the indignation of his anger, and the flame of a devouring fire, with a blast, storm, and hailstones. For through Yahweh's voice the Assyrian will be dismayed. He will strike him with his rod. Every stroke of the rod of punishment which Yahweh will lay on him will be with the sound of tambourines and harps. He will fight with them in battles, brandishing weapons, for his burning place has long been ready. Yes, it is prepared for the king. He has made its pyre deep and large with fire and much wood. Yahweh's breath, like a stream of sulphur, kindles it. Woe to those who go down to Egypt for help, and rely on horses, and trust in chariots because they are many, and in horsemen because they are very strong. But they don't look to the Holy One of Israel, and they don't see Yahweh. Yet he also is wise and will bring disaster, and will not call back his words, but will arise against the house of the evildoers, and against the help of those who work iniquity. Now the Egyptians are men and not God, and their horses flesh and not spirit. When Yahweh stretches out his hand, both he who helps shall stumble, and he who is helped shall fall, for they shall all be consumed together. For Yahweh says to me, as the lion and the young lion growling over his prey, if a multitude of shepherds is called together against him, will not be dismayed at their voice, nor abase himself for their noise. So Yahweh of armies will come down to fight on Mount Zion and on its heights. As birds hovering, so Yahweh of armies will protect Jerusalem. He will protect and deliver it. He will pass over it and preserve it. Return to him from whom you have deeply revolted, children of Israel. For in that day everyone shall cast his idols of silver and his idols of gold, sin which your own hands have made for you. The Assyrian will fall by the sword, not of man, and the sword, not of mankind, shall devour him. He will flee from the sword, and his young men will become subject to forced labour. His rock will pass away by reason of terror, and his princes will be afraid of the banner, says Yahweh, whose fire is in Zion, and his furnace in Jerusalem. Behold, a king shall reign in righteousness, and princes shall rule in justice. A man shall be hiding in a place from the wind and a covert from the storm, as streams of water in a as streams of water in a dry place, as the shade of a large rock in a weary land. The eyes of those who see will not be dimmed, and the ears of those who hear will listen. The heart of the rash will understand knowledge, and the tongue of the stammerers will be ready to speak plainly. The fool will no longer be called noble, nor the scoundrel be highly respected, for the fool will speak folly, and his heart will work iniquity. To practice profanity, and to utter error against Yahweh, to make empty the soul of the hungry, and to cause the drink of the thirsty to fail. The ways of the scoundrel are evil. He devises wicked plans to destroy the humble with lying words, even when the needy speaks right. But the noble devises noble things, and he will continue in noble things. Rise up, you women who are at ease. Hear my voice. You careless daughters, give ear to my speech. For days beyond a year you will be troubled, you careless women. For the vintage will fail. The harvest won't come. Tremble, you women who are at ease. Be troubled, you careless ones. Strip yourselves, make yourselves naked, and put sackcloth on your waist. Beat your breasts for the pleasant fields. For the fruitful vine. Thorns and briars will come up on my people's land. Yes, on all the houses of joy in the joyous city. For the palace will be forsaken. The populous city will be deserted. The hill and the watchtower will be dens forever, a delight of wild donkeys, a pasture of flocks, until the Spirit is poured on us from on high, and the wilderness becomes a fruitful field. And the fruitful field is considered a forest. Then justice will dwell in the wilderness, and righteousness will remain in the fruitful field. The work of the righteous will be peace, and the effect of righteousness, quietness and confidence forever. My people will live in a peaceful habitation, in safe dwellings, and in quiet resting places. Though hail flattens the forest, and the city is levelled completely, blessed are you who sow beside all waters, who send out the feet of the ox and the donkey. Woe to you who destroy, but you weren't destroyed, and who betray, but nobody betrays you. When you have finished destroying, you will be destroyed. When you have finished betraying, you will be betrayed. Yahweh, be gracious to us. We have waited for you. Be our strength every morning, our salvation also in the time of trouble. At the noise of thunder the people have fled. When you lift yourself up, the nations are scattered. Your plunder will be gathered as the caterpillar gathers. Men will leap on it as locusts leap. Yahweh is exalted, for he dwells on high. He has filled Zion with justice and righteousness. There will be stability in your times, abundance of salvation, wisdom and knowledge. The fear of Yahweh is your treasure. Behold, their valiant ones cry outside. The ambassadors of peace weep bitterly. The highways are desolate. The travelling man ceases. The covenant is broken. He has despised the cities. He doesn't respect man. The land mourns and languishes. Lebanon is confounded and withers away. Sharon is like a desert, and Bashan and Carmel are stripped bare. Now I will arise, says Yahweh. Now I will lift myself up. Now I will be exalted. You will conceive chaff. You will give birth to stubble. Your breath is a fire that will devour you. The peoples will be like the burning of lime, the thorns that are cut down and burned in the fire. Hear, you who are far off, what I have done, and you who are near, acknowledge my might. The sinners in Zion are afraid. Trembling has seized the godless ones. Who among us can live with devouring fire, with everlasting burning? He who walks righteously, he who speaks blamelessly, he who despises the gain of oppression, who gestures with his hands, refusing to take a bribe, who stops his ears from hearing of the bloodshed, and shuts his eyes from looking at evil. He will dwell on high. His place of defence will be the fortress of rocks. His bread will be supplied. His waters will be sure. Your eyes will see the king in his beauty. They will see a distant land. Your heart will meditate on the terror. Where is he who counted? Where is he who weighed? Where is he who counted the towers? You will no longer see the fierce people, a people of a deep speech that you can't comprehend, with a strange language that you can't understand. Look at Zion, the city of our appointed festivals. Your eyes will see Jerusalem, a quiet habitation, a tent that won't be removed, a stake that will never be plucked up, nor will any of the cords be broken. But there Yahweh will be with us in majesty, a place of wide rivers and streams in which no gallery with oars will go. Neither will any gallant ship pass by there, for Yahweh is our judge. Yahweh is our lawgiver. Yahweh is our king. He will save us. Your rigging is untied. They couldn't strengthen the foot in their mast. They couldn't spread the sail. Then the prey of a great plunder was divided. The lame took the prey. The inhabitant won't say, I am sick. The people who dwell therein will be forgiven their iniquity. Come near, you nations, to hear. Listen, you peoples. Let the earth and all it contains hear. The world and everything that comes from it. For Yahweh is enraged against all the nations, and angry with all their armies. He has utterly destroyed them. He has given them over for slaughter. Their slain will also be cast out, and the stench of their dead bodies will come up. The mountains will melt in their blood. All of the army of the sky will be dissolved. The sky will be rolled up like a scroll, and all its armies will fade away, as a leaf fades from off a vine or a fig tree. For my sword has drunk its fill from the sky. Behold, it will come down on Edom, and on the people of my curse for judgment. Yahweh's sword is filled with blood. It is covered with fat, with the blood of lambs and goats, with the fat of the kidneys of rams. For Yahweh has a sacrifice in Bozrah, and a great slaughter in the land of Edom. The wild oxen will come down with them, and the young bulls with the mighty bulls. And their land will be drunken with blood, and their dust made greasy with fat. For Yahweh has a day of vengeance, a year of recompense for the cause of Zion. Its streams will be turned into pitch, its dust into sulphur, and its land will become burning pitch. It won't be quenched night or day. Its smoke will go up forever. From generation to generation it will lie waste. No one will pass through it forever and ever. But the pelican and the porcupine will possess it. The owl and the raven will dwell in it. He will stretch the line of confusion over it, and the plumb line of emptiness. They shall call its nobles to the kingdom, but none shall be there, and all its princes shall be nothing. Thorns will come up in its palaces, nettles and thistles in its fortresses, and it will be called a habitation of jackals, a court for ostriches. The wild animals of the desert will meet with the wolves, and the wild goat will cry to its fellow. Yes, the night creature shall settle there, and shall find herself a place of rest. The arrow snake will make her nest there, and lay, hatch, and gather under her shade. Yes, the kites will be gathered there, every one with her mate. Search in the book of Yahweh and read. Not one of these will be lacking. None will lack her mate. For my mouth has commanded, and his spirit has gathered them. He has cast his lot for them, and his hand has divided it to them with a measuring line. They shall possess it forever. From generation to generation they will dwell in it. The wilderness and the dry land will be glad. The desert will rejoice and blossom like a rose. It will blossom abundantly, and rejoice with joy and sinning. Lebanon's glory will be given to it, the excellence of Carmel and Sharon. They will see Yahweh's glory, the excellence of our God. Strengthen the weak hands, and make the feeble knees firm. Tell those who have a feeble heart, be strong. Don't be afraid. Behold, your God will come with vengeance, God's retribution. He will come and save you. Then the eyes of the blind will be opened, and the ears of the deaf will be unstopped. Then the lame man will leap like a deer, and the tongue of the mute will sing. For waters will break out in the wilderness, and streams in the desert. The burning sands will become a pool, and the thirsty ground springs of waters. Grass with high reeds and rushes will be in the habitation of jackals where they lay. A highway will be there, a road, and it will be called the Holy Way. The unclean shall not pass over it, but it will be for those who walk in the way. Wicked fools shall not go there. No lion will be there, nor will any ravenous animal go up unto it. There will not be found there, but the redeemed will walk there. Then Yahweh's ransomed ones will return, and come with singing to Zion, and everlasting joy will be on their heads. They will obtain gladness and joy, and sorrow and sighing will flee away. Now, in the 14th year of King Hezekiah, Sennacherib, king of Assyria, attacked all of the fortified cities of Judah and captured them. The king of Assyria sent Rabshakeh from Lachish to Jerusalem to King Hezekiah with a large army. He stood by the aqueduct from the upper pool in the fuller's field highway. Then Eliakim, the son of Hilkiah, who was over the household, and Shebna the scribe and Joanne the son of Asaph the recorder came out to him. Rabshakeh said to them, Now tell Hezekiah, the great king, the king of Assyria, says, What confidence is this in which you trust? I say that your counsel and strength for war are only vain words. Now in whom do you trust that you have rebelled against me? Behold, you trust in the staff of this bruised reed, even in Egypt, which if a man leans on it will go into his hand and pierce it. So is Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to all who trust in him. But if you tell me, we trust in Yahweh our God, isn't that he whose high places and whose altars Hezekiah has taken away, and has said to Judah and to Jerusalem, Ye shall work before this altar? Now therefore, please, Make a pledge to my master, the king of Assyria, and I will give you 2,000 horses, if you are able on your part to set riders on them. How then can you turn away the face of one captain of the least of my master's servants, and put your trust in Egypt for chariots and for horsemen? Have I come up now without Yahweh against this land to destroy it? Yahweh said to me, Go up against this land and destroy it. Then Eliakim, Shebna, and Joah said to Rabshakeh, Please speak to your servants in Aramaic, for we understand it, and don't speak to us in the Jews' language in the hearing of the people who are on the wall. But Rabshakeh said, Has my master sent me only to your master and to you to speak these words, and not to the men who sit on the wall, who will eat their own dung and drink their own urine with you? Then Rabshakeh stood and called out with a loud voice in the Jews' language, and said, Hear the words of the great king, the king of Assyria. The king says, Don't let Hezekiah deceive you, for he will not be able to deceive you, to deliver you. Don't let Hezekiah deceive you, for he will not be able to deliver you. Don't let Hezekiah make you trust in Yahweh, saying, Yahweh will surely deliver you. The city won't be given into the hand of the king of Assyria. Don't listen to Hezekiah, for the king of Assyria says, Make your peace with me and come to me, and each of you eat from his own vine, and each one from his own fig tree, and each of you drink water from his own cistern, until I come and take you away to a land like your own land, a land of grain and new wine, a land of bread and vineyards. Beware, lest Hezekiah persuade you, saying, Yahweh will deliver us. Have any of the gods of the nations delivered their lands from the hand of the king of Assyria? Where are the gods of Hamath and Arpad? Where are the gods of Sepharvaim? Have they delivered Samaria from my hand? Who are they among the gods of this countries that have delivered their country out of my hand, that Yahweh should deliver Jerusalem out of my hand? But they remained silent and said nothing in reply, for the king's commandment was, Don't answer him. Then Eliakim, the king of Hilkiah, who was over the household, and Shebna the scribe, and Joah the son of Asaph the recorder, came to Hezekiah with their clothes torn, and told him the words of Rabshakeh. When King Hezekiah heard it, he tore his clothes, covered himself in sackcloth, and went into Yahweh's house. He sent to Eliakim, who was over the household, and Shebna the scribe, and the elders of the priests, covered with sackcloth, to Isaiah the prophet, the son of Amoz. They said to him, Hezekiah says, Today is a day of trouble, and of rebuke, and of rejection. For children have come to the birth, and there is no strength to give birth. It may be Yahweh your God will hear the words of Rabshakeh, whom the king of Assyria, his master, has sent to defy the living God, and will rebuke the words which Yahweh your God has heard. Therefore, lift up prayer for the remnant that is left. So the servants of King Hezekiah came to Isaiah. Isaiah said to them, Tell your master, Yahweh says, Don't be afraid of the words that you have heard, with which the servant of the king Assyria has blasphemed me. Behold, I will put a spirit in him, and he will hear news, and will return to his own land. I will cause him to fall by the sword in his own land. So Rabshakeh returned, and found the king of Assyria warring against Libnah, for he had heard that he had departed from Lachish. He heard news concerning Tirhakah, king of Ethiopia. He has come out to fight against you. When he heard it, he sent messengers to Hezekiah, saying, Thus you shall speak to Hezekiah, king of Judah, saying, Don't let your God in whom you trust deceive you, saying, Jerusalem won't be given into the hand of the king of Assyria. Behold, you have heard what the kings of Assyria have done to all lands, by destroying them utterly. Shall you be delivered? Have the gods of the nations delivered them, which my father has destroyed, Gozan, Haran, Revsah, And the children of Eden who were in Telassar? Where is the king of Hamath, and the king of Arpad, and the king of Seraphaim, of Hena and Eva? Hezekiah received the letter from the hand of the messengers and read it. Then Hezekiah went up to Yahweh's house and spread it before Yahweh. Hezekiah prayed to Yahweh, saying, Yahweh of armies, the God of Israel, who is enthroned among the cherubim, you are God, even you alone, of all the kingdoms of the earth. You have made heaven and earth. Turn your ear, Yahweh, and hear. Open your eyes, Yahweh, and behold. Hear all the words of Sennacherib, who has sent to defy the living God. Truly, Yahweh, the kings of Assyria have destroyed all the countries and their land, and have cast their gods into the fire. For they were no gods, but the work of men's hands, wood and stone. Therefore they have destroyed them. Now therefore, Yahweh our God, save us from his hand, that all the kingdoms of the earth may know that you are Yahweh, even you only. Then Isaiah the son of Amoz sent to Hezekiah, saying, Yahweh the God of Israel says, because you have prayed to me against Sennacherib king of Assyria, this is the word which Yahweh has spoken concerning him. The virgin daughter of Zion has despised you and ridiculed you. The daughter of Jerusalem has shaken her head at you, whom you have defied and blasphemed. Whom have you defied and blasphemed? Against whom have you exalted your voice and lifted your eyes on high? Against the Holy One of Israel. By your servants you have defied the Lord, and have said, with the multitude of my chariots I have come up to the heights of the mountains, to the innermost parts of Lebanon. I will cut down its tall cedars and its choice cypress trees. I will enter into its farthest height, the forest of its fruitful field. I have dug and drunk water. With the sole of my feet I will dry up all the rivers of Egypt. Have you not heard how I have done it long ago, and formed it in ancient times? Now I have brought it to pass that it should be yours to destroy fortified cities, turning them into ruinous heaps. Therefore their inhabitants had little power. They were dismayed and confounded. They were like grass of the field, like the green herb, like the grass on the housetop and the field before its crop has grown. But I know you're sitting down, you're going out, you're coming in, and you're raging against me. Because of your raging against me, and because your arrogance has come up into my ears, therefore I will put my hook in your nose, and my bridle in your lips, and I will turn you back by the way you came. This shall be a sign to you. You will eat this year that which grows of itself, and in the second year that which springs from it, and in the third year sow and reap and plant vineyards, and eat their fruit. The remnant that is escaped of the house of Judah will again take root downward, and bear fruit upward. For out of Jerusalem a remnant will go out, and survivors will escape from Mount Zion. The zeal of Yahweh of armies will perform this. Therefore Yahweh says concerning the king of Assyria, he will not come up this city, nor shoot an arrow down there. Neither will he come out before it with shield, nor cast up a mound against it. He will return the way that he came, and he won't come to this city, says Yahweh. For I will defend this city to save it, for my own sake, and for my servant David's sake. Then Yahweh's angel went out and struck 185,000 men in the camp of the Assyrians. When men arose early in the morning, behold, these were all dead bodies. So Sennacherib king of Assyria departed, went away, returned to Nineveh, and stayed there. As he was worshipping in the house of Nishrod his guard, Adramelech and Sharezer his sons struck him with the sword, and they escaped into the land of Ararat. Esarhaddon his son reigned in his place. In those days, Hezekiah was sick and near death. Isaiah the prophet, the son of Amos, came to him and said to him, Yahweh says, set your house in order, for you will die and not live. Then Hezekiah turned his face to the wall and prayed to Yahweh and said, Remember now, Yahweh, I beg you, how I have walked before you in truth and with a perfect heart, and have done that which is good in your sight. Then Hezekiah wept bitterly. Then Yahweh's word came to Isaiah, saying, Go and tell Hezekiah, Yahweh, God of David your father, says, I have heard your prayer, I have seen your tears. Behold, I will add 15 years to your life. I will deliver you and this city out of the hand of the king of Assyria, and I will defend this city. This shall be the sign to you from Yahweh, that Yahweh will do this thing that he has spoken. Behold, I will cause the shadow on the sundial, which has gone down on the sundial of Ahaz with the sun, to return backward 10 steps. So the sun returned 10 steps on the sundial on which it had gone down. The writing of Hezekiah, king of Judah, when he had been sick and had recovered from his illness. I said, In the middle of my life I go into the gates of Sheol. I am deprived of the residue of my years. I said, I won't see Yah in the land of the living. I will see man no more with the inhabitants of the world. My dwelling is removed and is carried away from me like a shepherd's tent. I have rolled up my life like a weaver. He will cut me off from the loom. From day even to night, you will make an end of me. I waited patiently until morning. He breaks all of my bones like a lion. From day even to night, you will make an end of me. I chattered like a swallow or crane. I moaned like a dove. My eyes weaken looking upward. Lord, I am oppressed. Be my security. What will I say? He hath both spoken to me, and himself hath done it. I will walk carefully all my years, because of the anguish of my soul. Lord, men live by these things, and my spirit finds life in all of them. You restore me, and cause me to live. Behold, for peace I had great anguish. But you have in love for my soul delivered it from the pit of corruption, for you have cast all my sins behind your back. For Sheol can't praise you. Death can't celebrate you. Those who go down into the pit can't hope for your truth. The living, he shall praise you as I do today. The Father shall make known your truth to the children. Yahweh will save me. Therefore, we will sing my songs with stringed instruments all the days of our life in Yahweh's house. Now Isaiah had said, Let them take a cake of figs, and lay it for a poultice on the boil, and he shall recover. Hezekiah also had said, What is the sign that I will go up to Yahweh's house? At that time, Merodach-Baladan, the son of Baladan king of Babylon, sent letters and a present to Hezekiah, for he heard that he had been sick and had recovered. Hezekiah was pleased with them, and showed them the house of his precious things, the silver, the gold, the spices and the precious oil, and all the house of his armour, and all that was found in his treasures. There was nothing in his house, nor in all his domain, that Hezekiah didn't show them. Then Isaiah the prophet came to King Hezekiah and asked him, What did these men say? From where did they come to you? Hezekiah said, They have come from a country far from me, even from Babylon. Then he asked, What have they seen in your house? Hezekiah answered, They have seen all that is in my house. There is nothing among my treasures that I have not shown them. Then Isaiah said to Hezekiah, Hear the word of Yahweh of armies. Behold, the days are coming when all that is in your house, and that which is in your father's, that I have stored up until today, will be carried to Babylon. Nothing will be left, says Yahweh. They will take away your sons, who will issue from you, whom you shall father, and they will be eunuchs in the king of Babylon's palace. Then Hezekiah said to Isaiah, Yahweh's word which you have spoken is good. He said, moreover, for there will be peace and truth in my days. For the chief musician, God is known. His name is great in Israel. His tabernacle is also in Salem, his dwelling place in Zion. There he broke the flaming arrows of the bow, the shield and the sword and the weapons of war. Glorious are you and excellent, more than the mountains of game. Valiant men lie plundered. They have slept their last sleep. None of the men of war can lift their hands. At your rebuke, God of Jacob, both chariot and horse are cast into a dead sleep. You, even you, are to be feared. Who can stand in your sight when you are angry? You pronounced judgment from heaven. The earth feared and was silent. When God arose to judgment, to save all the afflicted ones of the earth. Surely the wrath of man praises you. The survivors of your wrath are restrained. Make vows to Yahweh your God and fulfill them. Let all of his neighbors bring presents to him who is feared. He will cut off the spirits of princes. He is feared by the kings of the earth.